And shine on my own, I'm just fine on my, don't complain. Down all alone, Valentine on my own, I'm just fine on my, all the same on my own.
We'd met like a couple of producers before Richard, and Richard wasn't really in our thoughts or in any of the conversations that was going on before. At that point we'd decided to do it on our own, like everything, and then last minute Paddy asked us to listen to the Wild Beast record, our manager, and then we listened to it, and then he was like, maybe you should meet Richard Formby, and we were like, okay. And then Richard came over to the house, and then from there it was pretty clear that we both wanted to work with each other just from a meeting.
It was about a year ago, and I listened to the demos without knowing anything about them really, so you know, no preconceived ideas. And yeah, when I went to meet them, it just seemed really quite easy. I thought quite straightforward. And then once because they've been recording at home, they got the sessions up on Pro Tools, and then you could sort of look at the individual parts of what went into these tracks. It was quite different, wasn't it? I think the original recordings from what we ended up with. So. Yeah. I remember when we were doing this record, I thought, I've never heard North. I thought, I don't want to hear it. Yeah, because I kind of knew that they would do it. I was under the impression that they'd moved on. Yeah, I tend not to think about what's gone before anyway. The only difference it makes is if you're working, say, with a new band who don't really have an audience, you've got to find that audience. If it's a band and you're doing their second or third record, then the audience is already there. So you kind of in the back of your mind, you're aware of what you're doing. You know that people are going to listen to it, and you know there's a lot of people are going to be wanting to hear it as soon as it's available to hear.
I think when we got in there, we started with like what we thought was the strongest material, and like I think we kind of finished 4 tunes in 4 days.
Yeah.
And like from then on, I thought that was a good starting point, because you've got a strong idea of what the song's about and where you want to go with it, and then Richard helped like process certain things onto tape that obviously we've not used before, or you know, so it was like a luxury to us to be able to experiment with a new angle rather than everything being so in the box.
But once it was in my studio and we could just get everything up different channels on the desk, it just something cleared, and it became much clearer what we needed to do with each song. There can be a problem with a lot of bands that are too precious over what they're doing, and I think you need to learn to just let go of things. It's a great idea, but it doesn't work here. But you can always remember that idea and use it somewhere else if it's relevant. So I appreciate that when a band can do that, when they can say, no, it's not quite right, get rid of it, do something better.
When you play something to somebody for the first time, you always hear it in a different way anyway. Like you hear all the flaws and you're like, I should have done that differently, you know.
Yeah, you kind of like pick up on an atmosphere in the room if you think that this actually doesn't sound that good today.
I didn't want to get stuck on anything. What I wanted to do was just keep cycling the songs around all the time, so you wouldn't spend a whole day on the song. Sometimes we go through 4, 5, 6 songs in a day, just doing little bits or even just listening to it. And I just wanted to keep going round and round in circles throughout the whole album, rather than just focus on, a couple of tracks. You didn't want to get to that point where you think there's one track and you think, oh, we haven't listened to that for a week and a half, what's it like? I didn't want to get to that stage. I just wanted to keep things moving quickly all the time, really.
Everyone we worked with was quite good at what they did, and we wanted to just let them do their own thing without trying to like influence too much, As much as obviously it's our record, if someone's going to mix it, we really wanted them to mix it. I think the same. Do you feel like that?
Yeah, no, I do. I think it's good to let go. Not just well, for me, it's your record, not mine. But that's what I always approach it as. But I think as musicians, I think it's really good to. There's no point in getting somebody in if you're not going to let them do the job.
And once you knew what you were actually going to get from Richard's experience and the equipment we were using, we kind of cottoned on to, if a section in a track needed a little bit of something, and if I write a part that's quite simple at first, but then Richard runs it through his tape delays and it goes forwards and backwards, and then he reverses it and it does the same thing again. It double speeds and slows down and all sorts. You're going to get these textures and layers that you could build up and fill the track in, so it was like an enhancement of the parts.
Yeah, you've still got the original character of what you do, isn't it? And then it just
Yeah.
gets processed to something else. But the original character of the part should hopefully remain, you know. But when I first went to their house and took away recordings, I think, well, you sent me something, I can't remember. 2 months down the line from the first thing I heard, I could hear an identity to what it, which is still there now, into what it could be, and I think that's what the record's got now, that sort of loop, mechanical, clacky we called it, didn't we? I think, yeah.
Or spooky.
Spooky, that was it, yeah, spooky. Yeah, my sort of memory of it is just us three just sitting there, you at the back of the room with your notepad writing all the time, you sat at the side, me sat in the middle, and Aiden, up, ready, waiting for the eureka moment on the keyboard. That's my memory of it, that's what.
It was because there was someone else there facilitating the whole thing. Like Richard had the desk and doing the press and record and like plugging stuff in and saying why not try this, or and like the studio having such a array of instruments and synths and all sorts of other things. Like it was just like you just walk about and like play
things to
on,
play
like,
with, isn't it?
Yeah, you can pick up things and just do something. And like hopefully it'll get in. Like there's certain things that Aiden was doing that were just like the most random things that ended up on the record. But we tried to do is like incorporate as much of that as possible, you know, just to like, just for textures and tones and like just maybe for someone just to go, oh, I didn't notice that before. Quite like the idea of that, like, you know, like discovering an element that you might not notice the first listen and the second listen.